All right, Blair, thank you so much for joining us today on Hey Docs. It is always so exciting for me to have guests like yourself on the show, especially people who have not only are a doctor but have developed a company. And so I just thank you again for being on Hey Docs with us.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here.
So, one of the things that I really like to do with my guests when we get started on Hey Docs is have our guests tell us a little bit about themselves and their why. How did you come up with Retainer Club and give us the 411 there.
Yeah, so I'm an orthodontic specialist, so 22 years out here in Phoenix, Arizona. And I sometimes say, like, I feel like I've done almost everything in orthodontics. I was an employee, an employer. I built a practice, bought practices, sold practices, and I taught orthodontics for 7 years at the school out here. I wrote articles for OrthoTown. I was a key opinion leader for American Orthodontics, and I was able to be the team orthodontist for the Phoenix Suns and the Arizona Diamondbacks, which was a really fun opportunity. Pretty much the only thing I haven't done is work for a DSO or sold to a DSO. And I know that's really interesting for so many people. And it's like the question they all ask right now. So, I mean, I feel like I've had a very well-rounded experience in orthodontics. And along the way, we always were fans of practice consultants. I mean, to me, like, that's always my recommendation to people. And people ask me, like, who and when and what, and they're all great.
Yes.
And they're sort of there at different times, for you. But I always felt like, I was a practitioner mostly by myself, although I had associates, and I felt like consultants brought the world into me because I don't get to, go into, dozens and hundreds of offices and see the way people do things. So I always wanted to know. I mean, I was really curious. I always wanted to be better for my staff and better for my patients. And so, along the way, I think the most interesting recent, in the last 10 years, consultants that I have, we started thinking about or talking about, marketing and as the sort of landscape was changing when I came out in 2001 to practice. I didn't know it, but the orthodontic business was pretty easy. We came out here at that time. I think in Arizona there were 60 orthodontists, and now there's over 400. 60 orthodontists. I basically, bought this practice, changed a few things around, took out the carpeting, put in some vinyl flooring and thought,
Easy.
it was good. And people just came,
Yes.
and revenue was good. And, we tried to do some fun things, interesting things, but we just didn't need to that much. And now the market is so different, with direct to consumer and the competition amongst orthodontists as well as general dentists that are doing orthodontics, whether it's clear aligners or braces, it's just such a different environment. So, we started looking at, I started bringing on consultants to really help me understand and wrap my head around, marketing and new patient acquisition. And I think the thing that really stuck with me was, we invest so much in new patients and getting these patients in the door and getting them started. What about keeping them? And, up till sort of I feel like what we brought in, you really don't get to keep them. You get them for 2 years. And the best you can get maybe is a referral or a family that stays with you for multiple family members, or you get mom or dad in treatment. But that's about it. So, and what we found, what's really interesting is I feel like every orthodontist I know has like a 4.8 rating on Google. And you don't want 5 because 5 looks fake. But you don't want less than 4.8 because then something's wrong. And the reason is simple. They're nice. They're, orthodontists are, it's a great service. It's an amazing service. They really, the technologies are great now. The comfort has really increased and improved. So, everyone gives great service, but what happens at the end of that, that service and how can you extend it? And so it was a combination of that sort of concept with the fact that I was always a tech junkie and I loved, we were early adopters of 3D scanning. I remember when we took all our impression trays and we put them into a giant garbage bag and gave them to a referring dentist who said they're never getting into 3D scanning. I don't know if they still are now. So then this scanner was rough. It was, powdered teeth and alcohol kind of burned a little bit. It was the Sure Smile scanner. But it was still better to me than a nasty impression. I love the accuracy. I love being able to look at it on my, large, monitor in my office versus inside the mouth. And so that was cool. And then we were also an early adopter of 3D printing. And I sometimes tell the story, like when we first got it, we put it on the back counter, like when you would by the scheduler. So when you came and you saw this really cool technology and people would ask, what's that? And you go, oh, we do 3D printing. And then it failed. It had a print fail like the first or second day that we had it. And there was resin all over the carpet. We had to take out the carpet and change it out. So we learned quickly, like 3D printing is really cool, but it's also really messy. So we quickly moved it back to the lab, and that's where it lived for the rest of its time out there. So in doing this 3D scanning and 3D printing, when we would deliver retainers, I sort of realized like they kind of always fit. Like they fit really well. Like with stone and alginate, 1 in every 4 or 5 or 6 like didn't fit. We had to remake it. Or just something wasn't great about it. So as they were fitting, I started thinking, this is pretty interesting. Like, patients ask me now, when should I replace my retainers? How often should I replace them? And in the past, the answer was, oh, come on back when they break, or, when you need some, call us. And I really put that on them. And it's a terrible answer. I mean, the dirty secret in orthodontics is that if you want to maintain your results and your investment in treatment, you have to wear retainers long-term. And you have to replace them regularly because the performance disappears, not to mention the fact that the dog eats them and you lost them and you left them on your trip to the Caribbean in the cruise ship room, which we hear that story all the time, but also because you have to replace them for comfort, for convenience, for cleanliness, and you need an easy way to do it. So that together, and then, it's funny. I mean, I spend my time now. So I sold my practices in 2019, and I retired from clinical practice in 2022. And so people, sometimes, ask, what happened? Why don't you practice anymore? I love practicing. We got so busy with what's going on here, and we became venture backed. And ultimately the venture backer said, if you're going to keep this role with this company, and you're going to be responsible to investors, you need to really be a full-time employee. Sure. So that's why I'm full-time. But it was about 2015 when I went to one of my best friends who's out here in Arizona, who was a patent attorney by training. He was in the family law practice for 10 years. And then he went on to be the CEO of a consumer product company that he grew in his time there from a $10 million valuation to $1 billion valuation in 3 years. So they were doing everything in the consumer space. They manufactured, hundreds of thousands of units. They were in hundreds of thousands of retail locations, I think 130,000 retail locations. So they really understood consumer products. So when I kind of came to this idea and challenge, the timing worked out perfect. He was finishing up his role as the CEO and was looking for something interesting that, he could really kind of get excited about. And he loved the idea. He said, wait a second, there's 6 million Americans that finish orthodontics in the US every year. And every one of those needs a retainer. And every one of those is going to need some sort of retainer replacement. What's the current system? And the current system was, there's a few options. 1, patient just calls and you replace it. 2, you have some kind of plan in your office, whether it's like an insurance plan. And insurance tends to be kind of a yucky connotation word. It's not like a positive word. People think insurance, they think of like, frustration and stress. So I don't love the insurance idea, but some kind of insurance or some kind of plan. And I've even seen, Orthodontic talking about free retainers as a marketing tool. I think it's a cool marketing story. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think it conveys the value of what you want it to do. But the options were limited, and I didn't think they were very good. So Craig and I really put sort of our thinking caps on, and we looked at other opportunities, and we sort of looked at Dollar Shave Club, and we said, like, Dollar Shave Club sort of reinvented the shaving business. Let's look at, let's make Retainer Club, a Dollar Shave Club for retainers, a way to easy, online, and affordably replace your retainers. But it's really important to know, always doing that through your doctor, right? Doing it through the office. So we don't go to direct to consumer on any of the retainer products. We market to consumers to educate them on retainer replacement, but we also use that as a tool to send patients to our partner practices. So what we really found is interesting with retainers is they're amazing new patient generating tool. There are so many patients out there looking for ways to replace their retainers. And what they're typically met with when they go to an orthodontist is something like, well, I don't see patients who've been treated somewhere else. Or, I don't do that kind. I don't check other people's retainers, or I don't want to touch anybody who's been touched by somebody else. And it's a really bad mentality, because guess who's out there ready to take those patients readily from you? It's all the direct-to-consumer companies. They're raising their hand and going, guess what? We can do it simple.
We'll
We'd be
do it.
happy to make you a new retainer. We'll do it.
Yes.
And, in
Yes.
some ways we sort of, wonder if that stubbornness, that resistance to treating somebody that's been treated by somebody else at some point and needs service, needs to be taken care of. We wonder if we sort of orthodontists inadvertently created the opportunity for direct to consumer companies to come in because we weren't flexible. And we could talk about that in a whole other episode, but I do think
Sure.
there's some truth
Yes.
to that.
Mhm.
So, I know it's kind of a long story, but it was the combination of those things that really led to the development of Retainer Club. So we feel like, B2B2C company, we work through a network of partners, we service the patients on behalf of their orthodontist, long-term, clear retainers only, full phase treatment only. And we do it in a way that the consumers are expecting, all their business, all their providers to give to them. Easy, online, and affordable. Affordable doesn't necessarily mean cheap. It just means it's in a way that they're used to paying for things. So, what happens? We always say the story, like what happens when it's 8 o'clock at night and you just sat down after dinner and just cleaned up and your son comes up to you and says, I went to put my retainer on, the dog ate it. What do you do like right now? What typically you do is you might call the office, they're not going to be there, but you'll leave a message and you hope they call you back the next day. And then whatever experience you're going to get met with. Versus if you're an office, a patient of an office that has Retainer Club, you've got your account, you log in, you order a retainer, and it'll be at your house in 7 days. And you're like, I love that place. And when it arrives in this beautiful packaging, and it's got, a message from your orthodontist in there, whether it's a marketing message or just a hello, so you're always reminded who your favorite orthodontist is and why they take care of you. So, we love, it's funny. I feel like it's like the least sexy space in orthodontics. We're not talking about 3D this and that. We're not talking about, ways to get, an extra $1 million, of work, or the fastest brace that's 3D customized, whatever. It's like not sexy, it's retention. But we really feel like it's an area that needs, focus and a way for offices to service patients that doesn't take up office time, doesn't use staff time, doesn't, negatively impact the office, but just continues to bring value to their patients and new patients and revenue.
Yeah, that's what a great story. And I love how you guys, kind of came to this idea. And, I'm going to say, I wish that I had a membership to Retainer Club, because I can tell you just in the last year, actually at the last Ortho Evolution meeting, airlines lost my luggage. I'm a retainer fanatic. And believe it or not, even though I'm in this space, I don't have an orthodontist that I could go and get in. I travel a lot. I'm moving, gone all the time. And I've had my lateral moved just a little bit. I was able to get another retainer made, but it took like a month and a half to get in, to get somewhere, to get a scan, to get it back. And oh my gosh, had I have just had the opportunity, to log on, order my retainer and have it in a week, now I wouldn't be stressing about the fact that I can see a little bit of movement on my lateral, and like I spent all this time wearing this retainer for 20 years, now I got movement on my lateral. so
Yeah,
great.
it's funny. I mean, sometimes we joke that we're in the parent-child relationship repair business, because, that stress of telling your parents, and having them be like, oh my goodness, it's going to be like $500 in 2 appointments. I got to pull you out of school. I got to pull myself out of work to get you over there. Like, all of a sudden we're in this relationship repair business. You don't have to stress about this anymore. There's an easy way to replace retainers.
Right. And what I really also appreciate about this is, from a consultant's point of view, I'm going to agree with you. We really don't focus on the retention. Like you said, it's not sexy. It's almost like the last thing that we have to do in the practice to fulfill our obligation and to that treatment. And all of us, when we see retention appointments on the schedule, it's that eye rolling and, have they been wearing them, or what a waste of time because, this, that, or the other. So I'm kind of curious if you wouldn't mind digging in a little bit more and talking to us about your subscription and kind of how that helps practices, because I really believe that even though this is an area that isn't very sexy and we aren't talking a lot about, and we don't put a lot of focus on, this can create a lot of headaches in the practice for team members. And I think nowadays, with as hard as it is to keep employees happy and to keep team members focused and whatnot, I think having something that maybe takes some of that stress off of the team members or off of the doctor can even elevate just work environment happiness. So can you talk
Mhm.
just a little bit about how you guys help with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of parts to it. It was reminding me, I was talking to an office this week that actually I had talked to a year ago. And when I spoke to them a year ago, and we kind of knew that, the world was a little even different even a year ago. We talked about our programs and how easy it is to get started and how beneficial it is. And his comment was, yeah. I've got a lab. I've got a 3D printer. We sort of got this figured out. We don't really need help. Thanks so much. Sounds like a good idea, but thanks so much. And I said, great, whatever. So I talked to him this week. And he's already signed up, and he's already submitting, cases for his patients. And the reason was, and I said, I'm curious, what's different? And he
Mhm.
said, the number one thing for me is staffing. He's like, we are having a very difficult time
Yes.
staffing, and even when we staff, it's this sort of tenuous, relationship. They might be here next week. They might not. If
Mhm.
something happens in their life or they get an interesting offer of something else, they might be one of these quiet quitters or quiet resigners or moving around
Right.
or constantly on, Indeed looking for the next opportunity. So staffing is certainly a big challenge. And he said what we've heard so many times. So we've sort of named this person. It's a made up name. He originally said, I used to think that Susie could do this in the back and she'd do it over lunch and retainers were basically free. And I said, I know I've heard this story like a million times. They're free because you're already paying Susie her hourly.
Yep.
She just works over her lunch, one more hour, and she should be able to knock out a set of retainers. Well, the problem is there's an issue of, first of all, how much do we trust Susie? Where's this information? Is it inside Susie's head or is it an institutional piece
Mhm.
inside your practice that you've standardized? And even if it's been standardized, how can you maintain quality? And what happens if the program grows? Because sometimes offices start these programs, they're small offices, they're maybe new, and they're creating these programs, and it's fine. They're doing a great job. They're giving good service, good quality. But when they grow, all of a sudden they turn into a little bit of a monster, and you're not getting
Yes.
a ton of money from these programs when you're doing it in the office. And it becomes like not worth the money and not worth the stress. And now you're actually making people angry because you're not doing what you had promised to do well, when ultimately this wasn't what you promised to do in the first place. You promised to give good orthodontic care, not be in manufacturing, fulfillment, product marketing,
Right.
packaging,
Right.
like that's not your core focus. Your core focus is treatment. So I think the number one benefit we bring to practices is the ability to focus on treatment, which is profitable, right?
Yes.
And being efficient is not necessarily, sometimes people, in my experience, equate efficiency with not quality. And I think you can do both easily. You can be
Mhm.
efficient and quality. And it's actually what the patients want. They want you to be efficient with their treatment and their time. They don't want to see you every 4 weeks like we did
Right.
25 years ago,
Right.
right? They
Right.
want to see you when you need to be seen. Maybe you even got some remote monitoring going on in there.
Mhm.
And they want their treatment to progress and they want it to be efficient, and they'll pay for that efficiency, right? It's a great service. So the number one thing is we take that stress, like you said, of retention. So the final comment he made was, the final straw was, I'm having my lead assistant go back and make retainers. I needed her for me, for my treatment. And all of a sudden I'm losing her because she's in the back trying to make retainers to catch up because the new person that they hired isn't able to do it as well as the other person who left, previously. He's like, I need standardization, I need quality, I need to get this taken care of, and I want to delegate it, outsource it, and to someone who could do it, and just so I don't have to stress about it. So the number one thing we feel like we bring is this ability to focus on treatment. You don't have to worry about retainers anymore. You don't have to worry about the training. You don't have to worry about, the predictability and the timing and the quality. You've now outsourced it to an expert. That's all we do, right? So that's, I think, the number one. The other one is this idea of, direct to consumer, this idea, to me, there's a quote by Jeff Bezos. Somebody asked Jeff Bezos, what can he predict about what consumers will want in the future? And he said, it's actually very difficult to predict what consumers we want, but we can definitely predict what consumers won't want. They're never going to not want easy, online, and affordable, which was the Amazon, definition: easy,
Yes.
online, affordable, right? And
Mhm.
that's what direct-to-consumer companies are sort of teasing these patients with: easy, online, affordable. You don't need an orthodontist. We want to disintermediate you and your treatment from the orthodontist, which is terrible, of course, we believe. And we believe we bring practices this hybrid approach to treatment in the office, where it should be for the best treatment. But when it comes to just replacing this commodity, this retainer, outsource it, do it online, and give this hybrid option. And now you're really communicating with your patients. You're really kind of meeting them where they're at. So patients, I know in my house, at least, the Amazon truck pulls up 1 to 2 times a day.
Mine
I'm
too,
ordering that stuff the
unfortunately.
night. Yeah, well, I think it's great. I mean, I'm ordering the stuff the night before,
Right.
and or 2 nights before, and my $80. I don't know how much Amazon Prime is anymore. I stopped paying attention, but it's worth it because I get it in 2 days and free shipping. I mean, it's just it's what we do. But there's still things you can't get from Amazon, right? Can't get a haircut, and you can't get a root canal treatment, and you shouldn't get any kind of orthodontic treatment, in my experience, online. It should be done by the professionals. But when it comes to replacing a retainer, we can bring that service to offices. So that's number two. Number three is cost savings. We have a free trial program. So we make that first set of retainers, the one that you promised your patient, we'll make it at no charge for our offices. And the exchange is that they sign the patients up for a future paid plan that the patients can continue with and take advantage of those benefits, so they can opt out. Most patients stay on board because they think it's a great value to replace their retainers for as low as $99. So that's great. And then the last one is revenue. For offices that do like to, package this up front, we have a 2-year service option. So basically, the patient gets a retainer every 6 months for 2 years. So it's
Wow.
actually 5 sets of retainers, and the office gets revenue from that. So it's great. We share the revenue with the offices, and and they get a percentage of that. But our experience is less offices, in my mind, actually wanted that than we thought. More actually wanted just to outsource it, get this free one, so they're not paying anything. They don't have to pay their lab person. They don't have to do paying an outside lab, whatever. And they're getting it for free, and they're giving the patient this great service, and it reflects back on them. And the other side that we advocate, sincerely, is this idea of one visit for retention patients. And future visits are great, but they're paid visits.
Yeah.
So we have a script that we recommend for that. We just say, you love your results, right? And of course, everybody loves the results because orthodontists are amazing. And your retainer fits well because they've handed it to them, the retainer that we made for the office. And they try them and they verify the fit, because if they don't like it, we'll remake it. We have a perfect fit guarantee. And they say, congratulations, you finished your mandatory visits with us. Here's the recommendations for how often you should wear it. And if you ever need to come back, we'd love to see you. Our office visit fee is $99, or fill in the blank. And, and also we also offer revisions in our office. So if you decide you don't want to be a retainer wearer, we'd love to see you back. And we offer 25% off future treatment for previous patients. Something to that effect, and edited for your office in which you see to be fit. But to me, that's a missing piece of orthodontics. What I found for myself was that I'd look at my cases, and I'd see relatively efficient cases. I wasn't the best, but I certainly wasn't the worst in terms of efficiency. 14, 15, 16 visits for a typical, fairly complicated treatment plan. But then I was seeing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 visits, for retainer checks. And all of a sudden and they were free. And all of a sudden this profitable treatment turned highly unprofitable. I was giving a presentation to the Arizona Orthodontic Study Group, and a really smart orthodontist there said, in my office, we have the 1-finger rule. I said, what's the 1-finger rule? He said, when a patient lifts up their finger to start to point to something in their mouth, that's no longer a retainer check anymore. That's a paid appointment. And I was like, that's right. That's what they do. They go, I love my teeth. You did an amazing job. And I love my orthodonts. I love my retainer. But can you move this tooth? It's that 1 finger doing that thing. And he's like, nope, that's now an aligner appointment check, And so the staff is all really well trained. The team's trained, that they know when that happens, the doctor wants that to be an adjustment appointment, not which there's a fee for. So
what a great story. And I really love what you guys have been able to do with, again, taking all of that out of the practice. And I think about, your analogy of, the team member, Susie, that's, being paid to, to do whatever. I mean, absolutely. You're paying your most expensive employee to do something that is making you no money in your practice. And actually, like you just alluded to, the more you do, the more you see, actually, the less money you're still making on that patient. So one of the other things that I, in looking at Retainer Club's platform is I really like that you guys also help educate patients. And again, I think that going back to retention is probably the thing that by the time we get there, we've done our work, we've showed off our work, we've done what we said we were going to do, but now we're kind of done with it. And so can you talk a little bit about how you guys also help practices? Because again, I think it's just reinforcing some of the things that maybe we fall down on a little bit when it comes to really reinforcing what you just said about wearing retention for life, retainers for life.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason we don't talk about it is because there was no good alternatives. And again, orthodontists, in my experience, are super kind, and they care about their results, and they feel like this obligation, at least the ones that I talk to and meet, that you finish these results and you sort of have to stand by them in some sort of way, whether or not the patient wears their retainers and does their part. So, there's that tension there between those beliefs versus how do you run a successful business, and how do you, set boundaries on your patients and sort of manage them in a way that's, fair. It's got to be fair, but in line with good business practices. So, on the staff, the teamwork, and the patient side, I do believe it's a novel answer for regular retainer replacement. So we have a couple cute, taglines. One of them is some things are meant to last forever, like your wedding ring, your love or your relationship. Your retainers aren't one of them. And regular retainer replacement is the best way to do it. Now, like I said, there's lots of ways that offices offer regular retainer replacement. I believe ours is the most in line with what the consumers and the patients want. They want to order it when they want to order it through, their online account, and they want to receive it at home as long as they're regularly wearing it. So I get asked a lot, what if they don't fit? Well, that sounds like an orthodontic question. That should go back to the orthodontist, and then it's up to the office to decide how they want to handle that. We are not in the treatment business. We don't move teeth at all. We just support offices in helping their patients, replace their retainers and get them in a way that they're used to, affordably, easy, online. So the education, I think this idea of regular retainer replacement is where we really are focused. And that's one of my main tasks. My team has grown significantly. I mean, we brought on some really interesting people, in the last several years, a chief strategy officer who came from the dental lab space. And he's really gotten our quality up to an amazing level. We have what we brag about is a 98% perfect fit rate. So just 2% need to be replaced, and those are done, within 30 days at no charge. But I think that's pretty. I'm happy with that number. Although I'd like to see it, be 100%. But there's reasons why it's not. A head of sales, and then of course the marketing and the financial. But my personal work is with orthodontists, talking about the benefits to this type of program, and then helping educate the teams. This idea of get this out of our discussion that retainers should last forever, or that call us when you need a retainer replacement, because it's not a great solution. Because what really happens is the patients lose that, and then the teeth start to move, and then they're unhappy, but they're not unhappy at themselves, which they should blame themselves. They're unhappy with their orthodontist. And some of it's right, because if there's a gap between what you perceive as the way I should be treated and what the services are being offered in the practice, you feel that, and you basically blame the office for that. And you're not wrong in the sense, that if there's another way to do it. So so it's educating the teams. Regular retainer replacement's the best way to maintain your results, and educating the patients too. We have our own challenges. I mean, I heard a couple of weeks ago, a patient said they were keeping all the retainers we were sending in their drawer. And so I looked at that as our total mistake, that we didn't do a great job of letting them know, when you get that new set, that's when you put it in, that's when you try it, and that's how you maintain those results. Otherwise, you're going to have the same problem that our other patients had. That, I remember having a patient once that called the office that said, I've been wearing my retainers every night for the last 5 years and my teeth are moving. And said, come on in, let me check it out. So sure enough, they came in, and I said, okay, yeah, I see the teeth moved a little bit of rotations, pop the retainers in, the retainers fit perfect. So I was like, okay, well, here's a sign that the performance of that material has decreased over time, which, we can expect. Regular retainer replacement would have solved this, but wearing retainers doesn't guarantee that your teeth will stay straight, especially 4 or 5 years out. So our recommendation is at least once a year. although 80% of our patients choose to replace them every 6 months. So it's interesting data from our patients.
Yeah, and you're kind of blowing my mind just a little bit thinking about this, because I am one of those. And again, I've been in this industry for over 30 years. I definitely, until I lost my retainers, I was one that I've had the same set of retainers for years and years, and and hadn't even thought about that. I just assume it's plastic, it works, it doesn't move. So what a great concept there. But I was also thinking about when you said, why don't patients wear their retainers? And I think so many times it's just because they lose them, or they get yucky looking, they're getting yellow, they're getting whatever, they didn't take, they maybe they aren't cleaning them the way. And and who wants to admit, even if they could potentially, think about the orthodontist, who wants to admit that you did something wrong, right? Until you get to a point where you don't like the way your smile is looking anymore. And then I would challenge that. I think a lot of patients then will be like, well, I don't want to go back and admit to my orthodontist that I didn't do a good job maintaining my smile. And so I just love this concept that you've got these retainers coming, keeping the doctor's name in front of them. We're helping them do everything possible to have no reason to come, to not do the best that they can do. That's really great.
Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. I mean, our patients, if they get gross or they dropped it down a toilet and fished it out or something, or hopefully didn't fish it out. I mean, they can just go online and order a set, it'll be there within 7 days. So we're trying to reprogram, so that you don't have that guilt. Like, I have to go to the office. I have to admit that I didn't wear them, and the other side of that is, I heard a presentation not too long ago, I think it was earlier, end of last year, by Dr. Nick Azizis, who lectures a lot for Invisalign. And he made this analogy, which really clicked in my head. This idea that, when you go to a plastic surgeon, you get a facelift or an eye lift, you only expect it to last a certain amount of time, I don't know, 5-10 years, and then you have to go back for a revision. They don't do the revisions at no charge. You're paying the plastic surgeon at whatever their current rates are. And I think this idea that's missing, at least in the practices that I've seen, that I hear from, is that they don't let patients know, we're your orthodontist for life. So, we're here to do these revisions for you. We can do touch-ups, we can do minor tooth movements, we can do corrections before that job interview or that wedding if you give us, enough time. And this idea, and I think there's lots of ways, but it is a systemic, challenge that we have to train our offices to explain that we're with you forever, and you're going to need us. Because, the odds are life happens, right?
Yes.
Something comes up, you were an amazing retainer where you wore them for 5 years and then all of a sudden you stopped because you felt like you didn't really need it anymore. And then you got a crown, and so your retainer wouldn't have fit anyways, but then that crown kind of changed your bite a little bit. And, and we all sort of know that, the biggest, problem with, teeth moving post-ortho is aging. It's not anything, terrible. It's as we get older, the vertical dimension of our face change. It puts pressures on the teeth and can cause some, minor shifting or relapsing to whatever positions we were in. So you want to know who your orthodontist is, and you want to know they care about you. And you want to know that, it's probably not going to be $8,000 to go back and get, 2 teeth changed, right? There's a story that I sometimes tell when I'm out presenting. We were at a parent, it was a fundraiser event for parents at their kids' school, and it was hosted by a local dentist who I knew, and he's a great guy. And he had a couple drinks at his own party. And I remember him coming up to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, "You know what's wrong with you orthodontists?" I was like, oh, here we go. Like, I gotta listen to this. And I was like, yeah, give it to me. I'll take it. Give it to me. He's like, you guys want to make everything perfect. Everything's got to be class 1 perfect. And it's going to be 2 years. And it's, and that's what you guys do. If you would just do, some little corrections and touch things up, I could send you 1 million patients. But every time I send people to you, and he didn't send to me, he was far away, but, he said, you guys send them back with 2 years and they come to me and they ask, will you do it please for me and do it quickly? So I'm doing it. I'm doing tons of, aligner therapy because of that. And I thought about it and I said, He's absolutely right. I'm definitely guilty of that, and even guilty of not even asking or offering. Are you interested in
Sure.
comprehensive treatment or just specific treatment to address certain problems? And so this idea of minor toothment to me is probably again one of these holy grails in orthodontics where you can really, if you make this a cultural transition within your practice, that we love doing minor tooth movement. We have fees set up, we have the ability to straighten
Completely
certain teeth,
agree.
and that's what you want, as long as you understand that this won't affect your bite, or maybe it will affect your bite in not the best way. You might have to be more committed to retainers because it's not a stable bite. All those things are fine. That's not what the patient's asking. They'll do all that stuff and they'll understand it. And how do we know they're going to do those things? Because these direct consumer companies have gotten so big making that offer to patients. So
Yeah.
shouldn't we be the ones doing that and offering it and making it simple for patients to go back and get a revision, get a touch up, get a revision? We'd be happy to do it for, and you're not doing it for free, please.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
doing it,
Yeah. I love
yeah.
the concept of limited treatment is definitely something that we should be embracing
We
in
should be the experts at it.
2023 forward.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
we have the opportunity, and then again, companies like yours where we can stay in front of them, and if they decide they need a little something here or there, well, our name is still in front of them. So
Well, that's
let's
where we
talk.
think also our messaging is powerful too. I mean, if you send out a mass email to your office and says, "Hey, we partnered with Retainer Club to make it super easy and affordable for you to replace your retainers, as often as you like." And now, and now people go, "Oh, I'm not wearing my retainer, but I'll come in and ask for a retainer." We think it's really interesting if you ask them, "Hey, are you looking to hold your teeth or you want to see changes?" And usually that finger
Mhm.
comes up, right? And they're like,
Yes,
"Well, I want
yes,
to
the
move
one
this tooth."
finger.
Oh, that's treatment. And we've got great options for you here to straighten your teeth. So, an email like that could be worth, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to send out and let your patients know, about those options.
Yeah, and that's just, that forward thinking of how do we produce more, or how do we find different ways to produce in our practice. And that kind of leads me to another program that you guys actually offer as well. We talked a little bit already about how practices can potentially make some money, or make a little bit of production off of these programs. But let's talk a little bit about your mouth guard program.
Yeah, so we make two products here in Scottsdale, Arizona, at our lab, and I always like to say, we do have a lot of continuing ed courses out here in Scottsdale. We love when people come out and visit. So if you're coming out to the Spear Center, we're right down the street from the Spear Center, and a lot of the major hotels out here. So come visit. We'd love to show you around and show you what we're doing out here. But we have two products. We have Retainer Club, and then we have Mouth Guard Club. And Mouth Guard Club is custom sports mouth guards. We always did these programs in my offices because first of all, I thought they were fun. Find a local team, bring them in, decorate the office, put some of their videos up on our screens. Sometimes they get the cheerleaders. It's a great way to get these teams in and give them something that
Mhm.
only the pros wear and that they're going to love. I mean, and what is it? It's a removable oral appliance. Who's good at delivering removable oral appliances? I think you are, right? So,
Yes.
this removable oral appliance is a custom sports mouth guard, and it's customized in several ways. It's customized to the teeth because it's made from, now we do them from a 3D scan. Back in the day when we were doing them, I have pictures of slathering, alginate all over these kids, and, even learning the hard way that don't give them brownies when they come in before you do the impression, because it gets all over your impression. It was gross. We thought we were being sweet, give these kids sweets. That's what these big giants want. And, they want to be, fed. So yeah, we learned to do that afterwards, but now it's all 3D scanning. So it's custom that it's made to the teeth. It's custom in its thickness. So depending on the position you play, and a lot of our hockey players want thin, or quarterbacks want thin, or linemen want thicker, boxers want thicker. So it's customized in thickness, and it's customized in design. So we have an online 3D designer where you can go choose your colors and your logos and your team. And so one of my favorite parts about it is you can put your practice logo on one of the sides. So it's so much more sensible to me to give your patients this custom mouth guard, or a team a custom mouth guard, have your logo on there. It's much better than putting your logo on like the back of a t-shirt when you're right next to
Sure.
Pizza Port
Yes.
and Joe's Plumbing and everything else. Like, okay,
Yes.
it's a t-shirt. Great. Thanks, Dr. Feldman. If I can find you on that shirt, versus, getting this sports mouth guard they're going to love. They can play. It's comfortable. They can breathe. And so what Mouthguard Club does, we make the process of putting on events for teams and delivering custom sports mouthguards easier. And I think one of the hurdles to get over too is, you might make a little bit of money on these mouthguards. The starting price for a custom mouthguard with us is $49 and it goes up to about $150. But these aren't profit centers per se. I mean, you can make, a few bucks on it, but what it should be is a new way for you to reach out to a community, specifically athletes that play contact sports. And I highly recommend our practices don't think about this as just football. Football is a great one, of course. It's required in football. It's also required in ice hockey. This is NCAA rules. Ice hockey, field hockey, and lacrosse. Mm-hmm. And then there's about 24 other sports that are considered contact sports where it's recommended. So, this can be something that your office engages in as an ongoing marketing project throughout the year. Put together a sports calendar, use the one that we offer to know, how to reach out to these boosters and the teams, mm-hmm. And use Sports Mouthguard as a way. There's no other marketing tool that I can think of that you can get 30 potential new patients and their families into your practice while providing this superior product. At the worst case scenario, they've seen your scanning technology, and now they know about that you're here and they can bring friends and family. And the best case scenario, a lot of times we'll ask things like, is anything coming up dentally, that we should know about that might affect the fit of your mouth guard, before we give this to you in 2 weeks. And you'll hear things like, well, I'm getting a crown, or I'm getting this in 2 weeks, or I'm getting braces next week at some other office. Okay, no problem. We'll make it after, you get your braces, because if we do it today, it's not going to fit in a week. So, and then the most interesting one that we hear is, I'm going to do this scan for you. It's a 3D scan. It's going to show you your teeth. It's like a giant iPad. If you want to take a minute and just look around, I'm an orthodontist. You can ask me any questions about your teeth. And I can't tell you how many times I would hear things like, wait, is that their real teeth? And I'd be like, yeah, that's a scan of your teeth. Oh, we need an orthodontic consultation with you like right away. And I was like, great, let me hand you off to my treatment coordinator, get more information on that. But we'll do both. We'll make a mouth guard and we'll do it before and after for you. I'll tell you what, we'll give you something to use. So I love sports mouth guards and what they are, what they do. And so I think the most interesting stat is there's 40 million mouth guards sold in the US every year. And obviously the vast majority of those are at like Dick's Sporting Goods. They're boil and bite. They're cheap. They're this terrible process where you stick them in boiling water, shove it in your face, hope that it fits, end up with this inferior, sort of fit and product that just doesn't fit well or perform well. Versus, we feel like if we can get those 40 million people to come to their dentist or orthodontist to get this done, what a value benefit it could be. And of course, they need ongoing replacement. They need ongoing service. So these are all potential patients for your practice.
Yeah. And again, we are always looking for marketing opportunities. I mean, when I work with, all of my practices, we're constantly going over how are different ways that we can get in front of patients. And this is perfect and easy. And like you said, it may not be a moneymaker or a production producing like we think of in regard to we charge and we accept money for, but if you kind of switch that thinking and think about it from a marketing opportunity and how many like I'm even thinking with so many, even thinking beyond kids, maybe you're partnering up with a boxing gym for adults, and now you've got an opportunity to be in front of a whole group there that has disposable income, that probably has thought about the way their teeth look or whatnot. I just think, again, what a great opportunity that doesn't cost a lot. Put this into your marketing budget instead, and look at what and how the return could be if you set that program up. Great.
My story, ultimately it's again, just like the retainers, it's about focus. I was talking to an office a couple of weeks ago. They're like, we do that, we do it ourselves. And it reminded me of when I told this story to Craig, my business partner. He had seen me and he actually came to visit me at our lab when we were making mouth guards over the weekend for a high school football team. And he goes, what are you doing? And I said, we do these sports mouth guards events, a local high school, and the kids love them. And he saw me doing it. He goes, interesting. He's like, how much does this cost you? And I was like, well, it's expensive. It's like $3,000, $4,000 to make mouth guards for all these kids. If I think of all the staff time and the chair time and the material, and I'm not even including my time, of course, which would push it way over the edge if I was billing a fair amount for my time. And he goes, okay. And did you get any patients out of it? I said, yeah, I think I got like 4, out of like 30 kids. And he goes, and how much is that worth to you? And I said, well, it's probably at that time, probably worth about 20 grand. He goes, I don't get it. And I said, what don't you get? He goes, you spent 3 grand and you got 20 grand out of it. Why wouldn't you keep doing that? I was like, you're not listening to me. It's really hard. My staff hates me. They're here all weekend. On Monday, they can't even I can't even make eye contact because they're giving me eye darts, that they hate me.
Yep.
He's like, no, you don't understand. He's like, what if someone did it for you and probably did it better than you can do and just outsource it and you just collect the patients every time? I was like, oh yeah, that'd be pretty good. Obviously, I'm not that quick to catch on to these things. And that's sort of, where we come in. We kind of say, you do the scan, we'll do all the work, you get the patients out of it. You get the goodwill. Yeah.
Just flipping that script a little bit, thinking about it differently, working smarter, not harder. That is really what it's about. So as we finish up here, this has been really great. If I have listeners out there that are saying, okay, I'm pretty sold on this. This sounds like it's making sense to me. It's resonating with maybe some of the hurdles or the obstacles that I'm having. I've tried it. I wanna move forward. What are some things, if you were to give 3 maybe things that doctors should think about if they're going to implement something like this? What would you say would be kind of the first steps of moving into a program like this?
Yeah. So for the retainer side, first of all, I'd look at your retainer program. Is it consumer friendly? Is it something that your patients would want to do to replace them to maintain their results? I mean, one of the jokes we used to say was, we'd ask orthodontists, do you care about your patients after treatment's done? And of course, everyone says, yeah, it's a stupid question. But I would say if you provide great results, which you do, and you provide a retainer that fits, and I'm sure you do, and if you make it easy for them to replace it, you have to really make it easy in some sort of way. And I think ours is the easiest way to replace them. But you might have a way that works for you in your office, in your situation. And then you're transparent about what fees are going to be in the future if I decide to come back. Because don't make me like a bad person for not wearing my retainer. I just don't want to wear my retainer. I want to keep the results that I have, and maybe I'll come back and do it again with you. Be transparent about those fees. I would agree that you care about your patients. So just taking a look at your program, taking a look at what it's really costing you in terms of staffing time and your predictability and your quality, and really kind of spend some time kind of with your team brainstorming. And what if we didn't have to think about retainers anymore? What if we could outsource that and just see all our patients once? We estimate an average practice, 300 starts a year. If they go from 3 appointments to 1, they're saving about 200 hours of chair time for just that change. And if you add that, if you take that back and say, what if, some of those appointments turned into paid appointments, like at an office visit fee, then you'd really, see some incredible, use there. And then on the mouthguard side, I always ask the dumb question, and the reason I ask is I've gotten the other answer. Are you looking for new patients? Because we've met with offices in the Southeast that tell me they're not looking for new patients, which blows my mind. They just have referrals sending patients all the time. So good for you. But if you're looking for new patients and you want to try something, somewhat different, and maybe you've either tried a program, I know offices that have given out like just boil and bite mouth guard, which is like level 1 to me. It's pretty cool. And others that give out just a 1-layer suck down mouth guard. That's the next level. And then I think the highest level is when you make it branded with your office and they got the team logo and the kids get to put their name and number on that. That's the ultimate. But look at that and sort of say, where can we squeeze this in? Do we have patients in our practice that are athletes that tell me about it all the time? I felt like when I was in practice, people would be like, oh, I'm a football player and I'm going to state next week. And I'm like, congratulations. But what I should have been saying was, oh my gosh, we actually make custom mouth guards. I'd love to, bring your team in and get custom mouth guards for everybody in the team. You would do that? Yeah, I'll do that. Now you've created yourself a marketing event, and train your team to look for those opportunities. Again, not just football, it's soccer, basketball, field hockey, lacrosse. It's martial arts. Like you said, the gym, we've got a great program that we recommend to local gyms. Same thing, come into the orthodontist, come get seen, for a scan, and then build that relationship in the community. You want to be known as the mouth guard office, that can do these things. So that's how I would get started.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I'm sure a lot of people were scribbling notes on that. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, maybe they've got questions, or Retainer Club, what's the best way they can get a hold of you guys?
Yeah, probably email. I'm Blair, Blair, and I'm Blair at Retainer Club or Mouthguard Club. I spend my days on the computer, so I'm usually pretty quick to respond, and would love to chat, whether it's just discussing, what we do, discussing what you could do in your practices, and whether you're a doctor or a team member, an office manager, a treatment coordinator. I mean, I think, we've got, great ideas for all of you when it comes to post-orthodontic care programs, like Retainer Club or, getting new patients in through Mouthguard Club.
Yeah, that's great. And website?
Retainerclub.com and mouthguardclub.com.
Nice and easy, nice and easy,
Trying to make
folks.
it easy.
That's wonderful. All right. So as we finish up, one of the things I like to do, I don't know, Blair, if you know this or not, is I like to do a speed round with
Love it.
with everybody who has been on the show. So are you ready for the challenge?
Okay, I'm gonna grab my chair here.
All right. Coffee or tea?
I am I like warm drinks, but I'm a religious coffee drinker. It's how I start every day. I'm one of those weirdos that likes rituals. So I grind my coffee every morning. And I do it like I'm half asleep, but I've realized if I'm like away on vacation, I miss that. I start wandering somewhere in the house, in the hotel room to like find my grinder and like, yeah. But no, I love coffee.
Oh, that's great. Do you have a favorite book?
I have a lot of favorite books. I'm an Audible fan right now. I would say if we were talking about pleasure listening, Shantaram was amazing for just total amazing listening. And then I listened to a ton of business books. The one I'm listening to right now is Brain Energy. It's about, mental health and brain stuff. It's phenomenal.
Oh, that's great. I always keep a list and I'm always adding books. I'm an Audible as well. That's probably my favorite way to consume. Do you have a favorite outdoor activity?
Love outdoors. That's why we moved to Arizona from Illinois. I would say our two favorites, we mountain bike a ton. We're big mountain bikers family. And then we're sailors. So we love that. You and I were talking about the Caribbean earlier. Our favorite vacation is to take the kids and charter a boat and sail in the Caribbean. It's our dream fun times.
Wonderful. Wonderful. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
It's funny. I used to get asked a lot, like, how'd you pick orthodontics? And I think it's more related to this question. I like to make people smile, whether it's by improving their teeth or just, kind of trying to make people laugh. And so I like making people smile. I like seeing smiles.
That's great. And then final one, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
So I like quotes and I like advice, and I think my favorite one that I use with my high school kids the most right now is that your success in life is directly proportional to the number of uncomfortable conversations you're willing to have. So I use that one with my kids a lot. I said, you don't want to go talk to the teacher? Like, guess what? Your success in life is directly proportional to the number of uncomfortable conversations you want to have. And I think everyone can relate to that. I feel like I have a tendency to not want to, deal with, team issues, staffing issues, employee issues. And a lot of those, I just say that to myself and I'm like, okay, I'm going to just go do it because I want to be successful and I want to, move on from this. And I just have to engage in that uncomfortable conversation.
What a great piece of advice. And I could not agree more. Well, again, thank you so much for being on Hey
My
Docs.
pleasure.
This was wonderful. Yeah. I know the audience got a ton out of learning about Retainer Club. And I think you're just bringing, something that we need in our industry, a space that has not been filled. So thank you guys for coming up with this concept. It's great.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Mm-hmm.